Jungle is one of the most rewarding roles in League of Legends. The other roles might be flashy, like a Riven getting a multi-kill or an AD carry kiting 5 players, but you, the jungler, get to dictate all of it. They are only pawns in your chess game, and to win the game, you must use your pawns as best as you can, and in this video, I'm going to give you some tips to help you improve. In a previous video, we have already established what the 3 main rules of the jungle are: objective control, map pressure, and tracking the enemy jungler. If you missed that one, I highly recommend checking that one out first and then watching this one. Here are some of the things that people struggle with when playing jungle: playing from behind, playing with inting teammates, and pushing a lead. But before I go into the tips and tricks that you are going to learn in this video, I need you guys to understand something first. That there are no tips and no tricks that can fix a bad player's mental state who decides to int your game. Players like this are seeking attention, and once things don't go their way, they cry and they shout and they make themselves the main character, whether or not it's a win or a loss. They don't care. So in order to climb, you need to only focus on yourself and how you can improve. You don't need to win every game. You just need to learn something every game. That's how you improve quickly. So a win or a loss does not matter, as long as you learn something. If you care about the feeders and inters, and you blame them for not climbing, then you are doing yourself the biggest disservice ever. Just focus on what you can do to win the game, or what you could have done. That's it. Now, let's get into it. Champion select. You pick your champion, and you get to see what all 10 champions are going to be on screen. Right here, you need to start to plan out what you're going to do this game. Do you have a good matchup? Do you clear the jungle quicker or slower? What side are you starting on? Are you in risk of getting invaded, or should you look to invade? This information comes naturally to you as you play more and more jungle games, and you learn how every champion works in the jungle. I know not to pick Karthus if the enemy team is full of assassins. Then I'm not going to have a fun game. It just comes with experience and you will get there. But the most important thing is that the game starts in champion select, not when the first buff spawns. So already from champion select, you need to start thinking about how the game is going to go and what you can do in order to help your team win the game. In low elo, pick a champion that you feel comfortable on, and preferably one that is good early game, because that's where you impact the game the most. Champions like Nocturne and Shyvana I will always advocate for, because they are always good. Other champions like Nidalee or Master Yi can work, but you need to be really good on them, because they are easier to abuse and they have no comeback mechanics once they fall behind. In other words, they are useless if not ahead. But you pick Nocturne, and at level 1 the scouting starts. You need to group with your team, and you need to figure out where the other jungler is starting. This is crucial information. While with your team, run into River level 1 and try to sneak a ward at the Raptors, or Big Buff if possible. This gives you enough information. Avoid level 1 fights at all costs, unless you have a really strong level 1 team, like Braum, Ashe or Blitzcrank. Sometimes you won't be able to see where the jungler is starting, so you need to look at lanes level 1. If both top laners and mid laners show in lane at level 1, it's safe to assume that the jungler is starting bot side with his bot lane. If top comes late to lane, then you can assume that they started top side. In high elo, people will start to fake you out by pretending to leash, but in low elo it's typically easy to figure this out. In high elo, where you start sort of depends on the game, but in low elo it's always best to start with your bot lane. So on blue side you go red buff first, and on red side you go blue buff first. Bot lane gives you the best leash possible, and it can save you some time. Now time, or tempo as people call it, is the most important resource you have as a jungler, but it's invisible. You think of it like XP or gold, but it's just a concept in your head. Tempo is what you are going to use to dictate the game in your favor. Let's say you full clear the first 6 camps, and the enemy jungler cleared 3 and ganked top, lost all of their HP and had to recall, but they did not get a kill. You have 6 camps, they have 3, and you are still on the map. You now have a massive tempo lead. and you need to use this. Otherwise it does not exist, and you allow the other jungler to get back into the game totally risk-free, and that is very bad. You can invade, you can gank, you can look to start objectives, basically forcing the enemy jungler into bad decisions while they are off the tempo. Off the tempo basically means they are not in a good position to contest whatever it is that you are doing. This is why historically champions like Jarvan, Lee Sin, Xin Zhao have been staples in the jungle for early game. It's hard to keep up with them because they're very strong, but if they don't use their tempo to win the game, they will fall behind and become useless. Let's say you have the tempo lead, and you gank, and your laner gets a kill, but you die for it. Now you don't have a tempo lead anymore, and the enemy jungler who was behind has caught up, and if they are smart and they invade the other side of the map when you are not there, they can now be ahead in tempo. So you need to be smart. Never die for your teammates in the early game. Let them die, because they can always go back to lane and farm out, and lane minions give good XP. But you can't do that. So an early death is way worse for you than it is for your laners. Make this a habit. Never die for your laners early. So when playing from behind, you should focus on what the other jungler could be doing. Are they going to take dragon with their tempo lead? Then I'm going to take their camps on the other side of the map. Are they ganking top? Then I'm taking something bot from them. It's a constant game back and forth that you play versus the enemy jungler, and you will get better at this with time, I promise that. The other thing that we talked about was inting teammates and losing lanes. Sometimes they get ganked and we are not in a position to help them, but what if we were? Here comes tempo again. Clearing speed is a very important factor when you play the jungle, but also the time that you spend walking from camp to camp. We need to minimize this time as much as possible. That means we don't clear the camp right where it spawns, but we use its patience bar to drag it out towards the next camp that we are going to. This can shave off 2 to 4 seconds per camp, and with 6 camps on your side, it could give you a tempo advantage of 12 to 24 seconds, which is massive. This could be the difference between you being there to turn a lane around in the middle of the fight, or be way too late and watch them die, and now they get pissed off and start chain feeding like crazy. So basically, sometimes you can prevent your teammates from inting by just being quicker in the jungle overall. This can be done with all junglers. You just need to practice the clear in custom games and you will instantly find success. So we now know how to play from behind, and we know how to be there before a teammate starts the inting process. But how do we push a lead as best as possible? The truth is that for most games you are not going to be the carry. It might start that way in low elo, but as you climb you will start to notice that your actual carries matter more than you do, and you need to get them ahead using your tempo in the jungle. Getting dragons is a great way to scale into mid and late game. They give a lot of gold stats for free, so ganking bot is a priority for most games in order to secure the dragon. But let's say I have an early game team comp, like Renekton, Talon, Draven, then it's not always good to go late game, but we need to end the game quicker. Rift Herald is your key to that, and tower plates. Rift Herald is very overpowered in low elo, because people don't really expect how much damage it can do to towers, and they don't actually know how much gold the tower can give you. Rift spawns at 8 minutes, and it's extremely easy to solo kill. Once you have it, place it in a lane where you can give late gold to someone who needs it early, like a top carry or an AD carry. If you have a mage mid, they typically scale anyways, but if you have assassins mid, you need to get them ahead so that they can become stronger and tougher to deal with for the enemy team. Rift Herald spawns again after 6 minutes, and now plates have fallen off. With the second Herald, you need to think about what tower is the most important to take down. Usually it's the mid tower, so that's the focus. This stops most mages from safely wave clearing mid over and over again when they have to walk up to get the minions, and you can push mid lane now and push into the jungle and gain vision or get kills. In games where you crush the early game, you can use the second herald to sometimes break open inhibitor turrets. The enemy team is more likely to surrender if they notice that their inhibitor turrets are missing at 16-17 minutes, but it's not always how the early game goes. In more normal games, play around the map with your support, who typically have strong CC spells, and you gain a bigger lead by invading together, killing the jungler or anyone you can find, steal jungle camps and resources from them, and clear their vision out. Make it really hard for them to play the game. They will start to make mistakes out of pure greed and not being patient enough. This is always the case. Past 2 items and tier 2 boots. It's better to give the kills and gold to your carries. Unless you play a hyper carry in the jungle, like Kindred or something of that type, then more gold on you is not going to matter. The final tip I'm going to give you in this video is to never play on autopilot. You need to constantly be thinking and be active. If they do that, you need to do this. And if they do this, you need to do that. If you see the enemy jungler constantly using their tempo to gain a bigger and bigger lead, while you do nothing but farm whatever camps on your side that you have, then you will fall behind, and your lanes will suffer for it. Be active, have fun, and constantly think about what the other jungler is doing and how you can best respond to their actions. This is going to be it for this video. I hope you guys find this information helpful. The channel is growing quickly, which I am very happy about. And if you want more videos like this for all roles, then hit the like button. And to not miss out on the next one, don't forget to subscribe. And I will see you all next time. Goodbye.